thinking as you were talking, they're not glamorized, but I guarantee you that if it's, a 95-degree day this summer and the AC goes out, then there ain't gonna be no more important person to me than the HVAC guy.
100%.
I mean, and that's why there is such value to those positions.
100%.
Because when they're needed, people are, I know I am. I'm willing to pay whatever I can, for those services.
100%. So to move on, to the next part we're going to talk about next, entrepreneurship, betting on yourself. This is another avenue that we were speaking about as well. But guess what? Most successful entrepreneurs, they don't start out rich, right? They don't. Many businesses begin as side hustles sometimes, not even the fact of that, and being a business owner myself, I know that it's hard work. It's not easy. It's not hard work. And it says, a lot of times we talk about it as being like glamorous. There's really a lot of sacrifice that you have to do. It's a lot of ins and outs. This is the reality is today is one of those times, and you have to make some decisions that that may not sound like the best for everyone, but sometimes they don't understand, and that's anybody per se don't understand that some of the moves that I or a business owner makes are for the whole business itself, which eventually affects them too in a good way if it can be done right. But I get it. Some people are afraid to start. That's one of the things, you start to, really that keeps them from doing their dream. Never in my day did I believe that I would own a business at all because it wasn't something on my radar. Right. If you really want to know the truth, not really high on supervising people. I've had supervisory jobs, but not really because, like I said, when you say betting on yourself, a lot of times if you want to grow, you can't only bet on yourself, you got to bet on people too. And that's the thing, to expand and to get things going as well.
And I think that's something crucial when you talk about entrepreneurship is being able to select the right people around you. Because like you said, you're not doing it by yourself.
Right.
No matter what it is. And I think you brought up a good point too, like, I was interested in going that route at a young age, and but the drawback of youth, one of the few drawbacks of youth, is you don't have experience in anything.
Right.
And at a young age, you want to jump straight into, I want to be a business owner. And as you mature and grow, you see, okay, I want to work for a guy that's a business owner in a similar business that I would like to own someday. And now you're learning, not only are you have a job and you're employed, but you're also learning, and that's its own education, that's beyond college. That's real world on the job training. And, I think whether it's entrepreneurship or whatever the trade or college-based field, I think that's key is, look at someone that's doing what you want to do, and don't just admire them from afar, pick their brain, approach them, and get that education from someone that's actually done it in real life.
Right. And like I said, I wouldn't say that, entrepreneurship is for everyone. I wouldn't say that, because it's sometimes a lot, and this is not a complaint, but sometimes it's a lot of late nights. It's a lot of failures as well, right? A lot, like I said, again, sacrifice and sometimes uncertainty. You go through it, and you have to learn, you have to learn to expand more and never stay stagnant. I say that's one of the things I would tell any business owner is not to stay stagnant. What's going good now may not go good in the future. Not saying that part, but make sure you're adding. Now, it was one of those things I heard someone say about a restaurant business. Let's say you sell, you sell hamburgers. Be good at that, right? But you might not want to be have 60 things on the menu. Just saying, because then are you really still specialized? Keep the main thing, but still, expanding until you can, really hit and really, be definitely responsible in the things that you're doing as far as that would go. And that's the thing.
And I think that's a good point as far as young people work toward their goals. A lot of times I know in my life I learned things that I didn't necessarily want to learn because I didn't see the value in them at the time, and it might be years later, but
right.
Eventually that's a toolbox that you can pull from. And so I would say, that's whether it's college, whether it's trade school, whether it's on the job training after, I would say gain as many tools as you can, because I know in my life and chances are you're going to have to pivot.
I'm glad you said it, because lack of planning, lack of the tools, lack of planning is a problem. Sometimes when we talk about why businesses fail as an entrepreneur, right? Poor financial management is another one, and no market strategy as well. But the one, all those are important too. But the fear of asking for help, you should not. If you need help, you need to ask. And I'm good about that, because I don't know everything, and I'm okay with that. I know, like I said, for the main thing, but even if it changes, I need to know more about it. I need to, get into it a little bit more than that. And that's, a lot of times where, people can dream about the certain things, but there's people that, make a good living with lawn care.
Absolutely.
And started out as a side hustle, right? Mm-hmm. Cleaning services, same way. Photography, things that we're doing as a side hustle now has became their main source of business and source of income. Yeah. Content creation, same way. Yeah. We do a little bit of it, don't get me wrong. And it's not so much a side hustle, it's a reason why we do it. A lot of times we do this for the community. Really, people say, oh, what do you mean? Because we want to talk about the topics, right, that can better our community. That's what, and also have a springboard for some of the things that our nonprofit does. Right. So it's a win-win. Right. Food business is the same way. It could be started out as a side business, or food truck turned into a brick and mortar building where they start serving food out of it.
Yeah, and even my passion for creative writing, and as you're talking, I'm thinking, when I was in high school, I'll date myself, I graduated in 1994. And I made decent grades and was definitely on college track. But if people ask me what I was interested in, I was interested in creative writing. Well, in rural West Virginia, you tell most adults that that's what you're interested in. Okay, how you gonna make money? Which is a fair point.
That's true.
But at the time I let it discourage me, and that's on me. But as the years went by, I always had that itch. I always had that passion. And so what you realize as I got a little older and mature, maybe I can't start out doing that as my only source of income, but the local paper needed a freelance reporter. They needed a regular columnist, and now I'm getting to scratch that writing itch, and I'm learning. And eventually I was able to. So you might not be able to start where you want to, but if you can get your foot in the door, and at least in an adjacent field, you'll pick up those tools, whatever it is, and have a much better chance later, and that could become your full-time career.
Right, and being sometimes if you're in an underserved community, a lot of times people wouldn't, it's access to capital, the reason why they wouldn't want to be an entrepreneur, right? Or lack of mentorship. And I think that's a big thing. You gotta find your mentor that's willing to, help you along the way. And if I go back even with, the business that I do now, work skills and employment and education. I had a liaison, which is a great mentor liaison to me. I needed, but that was on the side of the agency that I work in conjunction with, not so much what I actually do. And I wish I had one, so I could. And if anybody ever, I would try to help them, because I know that's the part that's kind of get a little tricky, and get a little difficult at times. So that's the thing. But I think the more we can be at this, as far as and it's a lot of trial and error, but turning the side hustle into a business, there is ways. There's classes you can take as well. We actually have one as well, entrepreneurship. We have one too that you can sit down and do as well. And that's why I like it, because I think this is the key to having successful business and young definitely young people, getting them exposed to stuff at an early age, so they know the options are out there. When you were talking about tools, filling that toolbox up in one day, guess what? They open it and there's a shiny tool they can use.